Welcome, and thank you for joining us as part of our Faith Journeys series, Still Speaking with Ivanhoe Church. I'm Kelly Dickinson today, host of this conversation, and I'd like to introduce you to our guest, Marianne Krusienski. And so, Marianne, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your faith journey and, throughout your life?
Okay, I was born in Diamond Lake, Illinois, post office Mundelein, in December 29th, 1933. I was born at home, and my first remembrance of church was going to Sunday school at the Diamond Lake Methodist Church, and stayed there until quite a while, till about 1969 when I joined Ivanhoe Church.
Is that the church that's on 176 or
Highway
83?
60.
83.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's not there anymore, but
Okay.
it was. I have a picture of it and a booklet. They celebrated their 100 years in 1958. It was built in 1858.
Oh, wow.
I think it was just a few years after this church, after Ivanhoe.
Interesting.
The people in around this area were meeting in the homes at that time, and I think probably maybe I don't know if they interacted at all, but there were several people meeting in homes. And my great grandfather, Charles Bartlett, was one of the early settlers to this area, and he helped haul the lumber to build Diamond Lake Church. So I always felt a connection through family, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so you went to Sunday school there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I was confirmed in 1947 by George McGovern, the senator from South Dakota. He was a minister at our church at that time. And he confirmed me, and he also spoke at our grade school graduation in 1947 from Diamond Lake School.
Oh, wow.
And our humongous class was 18.
Oh, my goodness.
18 people.
Oh, wow. Is that the same Diamond Lake School that is there today?
Yes. Okay. But it was, at that time, we had first through fourth grade were in one room.
Okay.
Betty Anderson was our teacher. They had one row for each class. And then I think there was, by the time I got to fifth grade, it was fifth and sixth grade in one room. And then seventh and eighth grade were in one room. And our teacher, Mabel Shanky, was also the principal. She coached us for baseball. We didn't have like they do nowadays. We just played ball after school. We didn't have any organized things like that. But
okay.
She did everything. She was, I guess, the secretary, the principal,
everything,
whatever.
Huh?
Yeah.
Nice. And then did you get bused to school?
No.
And then
no buses.
Okay.
We all walked to school, and they had at that time patrol boys. If the seventh and eighth grade boys were really well behaved and didn't get it, they could be it was an honor for them to be a patrol boy. And they would come up. Highway 60 at that time was Route 59A. 59A was that. And so they would stay at the corner because most of the kids came from that side of Diamond Lake. I lived out on 59A at the time. My dad had a tavern right near the EJ&E tracks. The building is still there.
Oh.
It's a mobile home court now, but we had 3 acres. We had like a little mini farm, and we had ponies and chickens and
nice.
And then we walked to school. We all walked to school. We walked along the highway, but the boys would be at that corner for the ones that came up Diamond Lake Road.
So did you then attend school with any of the kids that actually attended your church?
Yes, that's basically between the church and the school. It was sort of together because we would have things, bunco parties and different things at school. And, and there were several, the Rydells, they belonged to the church here.
Okay.
Ray's sister, she was 1 year behind me at school, and I'm trying to think of, but there were quite a few kids that went to Diamond Lake School that also went to church. And we didn't have, like nowadays, the kids have so many things to do. Our main thing I remember especially when I got like to 7th grade, we had the youth fellowship.
Okay.
And on Sunday night, that was really something to do.
And what kind of things did you do with youth fellowship?
We learned to square dance. We visited with other churches in the area. I remember one Barrington church, they had a Methodist church, and we met with them sometime. I can't remember the other ones, but we would do things like that.
Okay.
And that was our social activity, really. Diamond Lake in the summer, there was always, we could swim, they had rides. It was almost like a mini carnival, and they had picnic ropes all summer long. There was a lot to do. But in the winter, there was nothing.
Ice skating?
Ice skating. In the
Yeah.
summer, they had the roller rink there. We
Oh,
could go
okay.
roller skating and everything. But so youth fellowship was important because we could get together with our friends. And
Oh, that's nice. And then you had a youth leader, or was that the pastor?
The pastor of the church, or one of the, I remember Mr. Rydell, Ray's father, was our Sunday school teacher at the
Okay.
time. And he met with, and sometimes we'd even meet at their homes.
Okay. And then what happened to take you from the Methodist Church to Ivanhoe?
Well, when Wally and I got married in 1953, we didn't have a really big wedding at the time. He was Catholic and I was Methodist, but we decided we were just going to go to the courthouse and get married. So when we got to the courthouse, back then you had to get a blood test. We had that several days in advance. Then you went to the courthouse and got your license. And the man asked us, he said, "Do you want to get married by a justice of the peace, or do you want to get married by a minister?" And I said, "Oh, I'd like to get married by a minister." He said, "Okay, what denomination?" I said, "Well, I'm Methodist." He said, "Oh, there's a Methodist church right around the corner." He said, "If you go over there and talk to the minister, he'll marry you." I didn't belong to that church, but we went over there, and the minister was working in his yard. He was out working in the flower, and we drove up, and he said, "Can I help you?" And we said, "Yeah, we wanted to get married." He said, "Oh, okay." He said, "Wait, I'll go in and wash up and change my clothes." He said, "Would you like to get married in the rectory, or would you like to go in and get married in church?" I said, "Oh, I'd like to get married in church." He said, "Okay." So it was a beautiful, beautiful church.
Wow. So it was just the three of you?
Wally and I and my brother Herb and his wife Mary.
Oh, okay.
They were my parents. No, his parents didn't go with us, and either my brother was sick, so my dad didn't go either.
Okay.
So just the four of us. We got married, and then we went over to Rustic Manor. That was the big restaurant back then in Gurnee on Grand Avenue, and we had lunch, and then we went to Wisconsin Dells. That was our
honeymoon.
Had to be back to work. This was Saturday. We had to be back to work, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday. So.
Oh, wow.
But then we were married for over 6 years before we had Margie. Well, then we had Margie baptized at the Diamond Lake Church.
Okay.
In 1959. She was born probably in 1960. And she attended Sunday school there. I taught Sunday school, the 3 and 4 year olds, I taught class. And in 1967, we sold our house in Mundelein and moved out to Fremont on Black Hawk Trail in Fremont Township. And Margie had to switch schools. She started going to school at Fremont. Okay. So a lot of her friends were coming to Sunday school here at Ivanhoe. Oh. So she said, "Mom, I was taking her back to Diamond Lake, but she was with more friends at school." So she said, could I go to Sunday school with my friends? I said, "Sure." So I brought her to Sunday school, and she really liked it, and she was going. And then I came to church, and when I walked in this church, it was like Diamond Lake Church before they remodeled it. They had remodeled the church and changed everything around, but this one, the sanctuary, it just reminded me so much. I felt at home the minute I walked through the door. So I started attending church, and then Reverend Schrag approached me and said, would you like to transfer your membership and become a member of Ivanhoe? And I said, yeah, I will. So that's what I
Nice.
did.
Oh, that sounds great. Now, did Wally join with you?
No, Wally, he never, he was baptized and confirmed Catholic. He's never changed, but he doesn't attend church, but he never joined with me, no.
Okay. But he does attend events.
He does, yes, he attends.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
And when Marge was younger, she was in the junior choir, and on Christmas Eve, the kids used to wear those white robes, and they did things, so he would come on occasions, you know.
okay. Yeah. And then now, so how did you get involved in Ivanhoe when you started coming to Ivanhoe?
Margie and I, later, we helped, they had a nursery at that time, and people took turns
Okay.
taking care of the kids while the parents were in church. They had a regular nursery downstairs. I don't know if they
Right.
still have that, for the little ones
Yeah.
especially. And when Wayne Nowak came, Margie actually babysat for him. She babysat Jill and Tim.
Okay.
And we did, I'm trying to think, Wally would come with me. We came, and when they had the pads here,
Okay.
we used to come,
Yes.
take a turn and clean after pads. That was back when the church was open all the time. The doors were never locked. We could just, back in the good old days, we could just come in the morning and we cleaned. And like I said, Marge and I used to take turns in the nursery. But
Okay.
that's probably about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So wow, that's a long time. So what other things drew you to continue to stay at Ivanhoe and
I always, it seemed like no matter how bad you felt, no matter how down you were, you always felt better when you left. You come in, and the people here were so friendly and so accepting to anyone. And I just always felt much better when I left than when I walked in. In 1994, I was diagnosed with my breast cancer, and that was really a down time for me. But between Wayne and the church, I came here. I knew I was going to get better. I knew I was going to get cured, and
Mhm.
it just held me.
that spiritual home?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So do you feel when you come into this sanctuary or this church, you feel, the God presence or, and do you take that with you?
Yeah, I always feel like there's a little angel on my shoulder.
Yeah.
And and especially in here.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of things do you remember about Ivanhoe when you were here? When you started coming here, were there events or different services that kind of stand out in your memory?
Yes, well, one of the things that when we built the house in 1967, and then in 69 I switched, I had gone back to work at Jewel. I worked at Jewel for, right after high school. The next year I went to work for Jewel as a checker, and I worked my way up to service manager. But we were married almost 6 years, and we wanted to start a family, and it just wasn't happening. And the doctor thought if I quit work, it's a very stressful job, service manager at Jewel. So that's why I quit work, and then I did get pregnant. We had March. Well, then I stayed home with her through those years. But then when we built the house, I went back to work at Jewel part-time. So between the time I left and the time I went back, Jewel started opening up almost 24 hours a day. And of course, they were open on Saturdays and Sundays.
Oh, okay.
And I worked in the office. When I went back, they right away put me in the office because I had the experience in the service desk. You might know as a service desk. And so I had to work every other Sunday or every third Sunday, and I had to work every Saturday.
Yeah.
And Wally worked Monday through Friday, so he was home with Marge on the weekends. But unfortunately, I I didn't have as much time.
Okay.
So, but I do remember they always had that. We had the corn, chicken and corn roast,
Yes.
and we used to like to attend that, and then I helped with that later on
Okay.
after I wasn't working anymore. I had more time. I did help with that.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that chicken and corn roast.
Chicken and corn roast.
Yesteryear.
The men would cook the chicken out there on that big grill they had, and Zelma Dunn and I we would sell those carameled apples. We'd cut the caramel. She had the caramel sauce. We had a little thing there. We melted the caramel. Do you remember that when they melted?
I wasn't here then.
Oh, okay.
No.
We sold carameled apples. I was the cutter. we had a put the apple down, and then we cut it in pieces and put it on a little plate, and then pass it over to the next one. They'd put the caramel sauce on.
Okay.
So
and
one I remember one time we worked, and then we would sell tickets to anybody we could. Well, some of our friends came, and after I finished work, we went and we sat down at the table and we were eating, and this young woman came in and with another young man, and she sat down at the table, and I thought, I know her from someplace, and I'm looking. She started asking us questions, and we were talking, and pretty soon I said, I know you. She said, oh, I'm Melissa Bean, the congressman.
Oh.
She said they were at a rally, and they were on their way back, and her and this young man was her assistant, and they happened to see the sign out there, chicken and corn roast, so they swung in, and it was really interesting.
That is interesting.
So then she was asking us, I said, well, we all went to Libertyville High School, and I said, it was all of us and Marlon Brando. And she said, I said, yeah, Marlon Brando went to Libertyville High School. So we had a nice visit with her.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, that is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your central tenets of your faith?
I think hope, strength.
What would you tell your parents if they were here now?
I think, boy, I wish I could have a day with my parents. Probably you'd be proud. I made it.
I'll say you've made it. 92 years. And how long have you been married?
73 in June.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And Wally's 100?
101.
Yeah. And still doing yard work.
Yeah. Still doing yard. We still do in fact, I was sanding the ceiling this last week because I got a crack in my ceiling, and I'm trying to doing everything with.
So you're filling your own crack?
Yeah.
The ceiling.
Yeah. I'm attempting. If it was on the wall, I could get it perfect. On the ceiling, not so.
You're not going up a ladder, are you?
Yeah.
Oh my
goodness.
But
I use a step ladder so you can hold on.
Okay. Well, that's good because you can always call somebody.
Yeah.
How does your faith elevate the ministry of Ivanhoe Church?
I think when you come in to the church, your feelings, at least for me, they seem to spread out to the people around you, and vice versa. I think you get a feeling from everyone that's here, and I think it brings you up.
Okay. Feeling of family,
friends,
spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, are there any other things that about your faith journey that you could share with us?
Like I say, a couple of times I came close. In fact, when Wally and I when we first were going to get married, I asked him if you want to get married in a Catholic church, I would. To me, we're all going to the same place, but we're taking different roads.
Okay.
And I said, would you want me to change? You know, he didn't want to change, and I said, but I would I would go. He said, no, he didn't. It didn't matter. And a couple of times along the road, before I dated Wally, I was dating another boy, and he went to St. Norbert's in Wisconsin, a Catholic. He was in high school. It was a high school and college at that time, St. Norbert's, and he wanted me to change and join the Catholic Church. I went to church with him a few times in Mundelein. And then he brought a book for me to read. The brothers up at the school told him to give me this book. And I started reading the book, and I started asking questions. Why is this or why is that? And he went back and told the brother. And the brother said, take the book away from her. She's not ready to join. They don't want you to ask questions. So I knew that road wasn't going to be for me. I always went back.
Okay. So you did not go that road?
I did not go that road. And when Wally's father died in 1975, Wally and his father were so close, and he was just devastated. And his mother was pretty upset too, so I went with him to Kristan's funeral home to make the arrangements. And Pete, Kristan said, well, you want to have a priest? And we said, yes. But at the time, Grandma and Grandpa weren't attending church.
Okay.
So Pete says, well, I'll send you down to see the priest down at the church at Santa Maria. When we went down there, Wally's dad was in World War I, and he was very military. They bought a lot in Arlington in a military section of the cemetery. So when we got there, when we started talking to the priest, he said, where's your graves? And we told him. He said, well, you can't be buried there. It's not blessed. That grave isn't blessed by the church. And I said, well, I didn't know. He said, well, if you were attending church, you would know. And I said, well, he said, where do you go to church? I said, the Ivanhoe congregation. Well, here's Wally and his mother. They're not saying a word. I said, well, I was not. Well, how were you married? I said, we were married in a Methodist church. Do you have children? I said, yes, we have one. Well, you're living in sin. I didn't know I was living in sin. He said, well, you'll have to get, if he wants to be buried Catholic, you're going to have to get another gravesite in the cemetery. It's that big cemetery over there.
Off of 137.
Yeah. I can't think of the name of it right now. So that's what we had to do. We had to buy a grave over there, and he got buried Catholic. I said to Grandma, do you want to be buried Catholic? She said, oh, yes. I said, do you want to be buried next to Grandpa? Oh, yes. I said, well, then.
You can't be buried in Arlington. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
I didn't either, but I
didn't
found
know
out
about the blessed graves.
Yeah. They have to be either in a Catholic cemetery, I guess then they're all, or it would have had to been blessed ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what
very interesting.
Yeah.
So here you are.
So
you came on this road.
I didn't know I was a sinner, but so then again I said to Wally, do you feel uncomfortable? Do you want? And he told us. He said, if you come in, I'll bless your marriage, and then he said, I'll rebaptize your daughter, and you'll be okay. You can. And I said, Wally, I'll do it if you. He said, no way. So I'm still at Ivanhoe.
Where you belong.
And I still feel comfortable.
Where you belong.
Where I belong.
Everyone is welcome.
Everyone's welcome. And they tell you that every Sunday.
Yes, of course. Of course. Along with our website.
Mm-hmm.
So your parents attended Diamond Lake.
Mm-hmm.
But they never attended Ivanhoe.
No.
Okay.
No, my parents, my mother died when I was only 23, and my dad, well, I was attending here before my dad died,
Okay.
but in fact, when my mother died, Mary and Herb, I believe Reverend Schrag did my mother's funeral for us at that time.
Oh, that's nice.
My mother and dad weren't attending. I was, but they weren't. But Mary and Herb wanted to get Reverend Schrag at the time, and he did. It was really
Okay. Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, he welcomed you to the church, and
Yeah.
your daughter brought you here.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Right.
Yes, it's amazing what your kids can do.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's been a few kids who have brought their parents here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then when Marilyn's church, when Marilyn and Marilyn was going to Diamond Lake, but then when it ended, they went up to Mundelein, and when she told me one day, she said, "Oh, our churches, that one was."
Closing?
I can't remember. Yeah,
Kirkville Lakes.
Kirkville Lakes. Yes,
Yeah.
she said that one was. I said, "Why don't you, Marilyn, come and try our church?" And she did. Her and a few other ladies, and that's when they
And
all
they're
joined.
still here.
Yeah.
And they brought the fellowship tradition of, lots of food
Yeah.
instead of just a couple cookies.
More is better.
Yes.
If one's, we don't want to run out. God forbid you'd run out.
That is so true.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I think we always did have coffee hour, but Zelma and I used to do coffee hour. Zelma Dunn and I.
Yeah.
We used to get quite a bit of. We didn't want to run out either.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit, more like cookies.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah. We didn't
snack.
go into what they do now. No.
Yeah. Oh, those are fond memories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Zelma was, and the Caca Masters.
Yeah.
And I had the Caca Masters I knew from when we sold one house and bought another. In fact, when Wally's folks had a farm, a small farm 45-acre farm on Indian Creek Road. And that's when I met him. We lived there for 2 years after we were married. And they sold the farm when Grandma and Grandpa sold the farm in 1972. Master was the realtor that handled that. And then he sold them the house that we're living in now.
Oh, nice.
I know. Yeah. So I knew and I knew a lot of the people when I came here from working at the Jewel for so long that they shopped at the Jewel.
So you
I
were home when you came here.
I knew the Dunns. Yeah, I knew the Dunns because Bob worked at the bank in Libertyville, and I was service manager. We had to deal with cash, and back then we didn't have Brinks at Jewel. You dealt directly with the bank.
Okay.
And so I knew the Dunns, and then a lot of people that growing up in at least it was a small town back then.
Yeah, where everyone knew everyone.
Yeah, I felt at home right away.
There's lots of names that people are like, we knew them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So, well, thanks for joining us for our episode of Faith Journeys. And thank you so much for sharing your faith journey with us. And so we pray that your Marianne's story resonated with you today. And we want to make sure that you know that we do have Sunday services every Sunday at 10. And hope to see you there. Or you can find us on Facebook or on our website, ivanhoechurch.org. So blessings to you and grace and peace. And thank you so much. And thank you, Mary.